They may not win, but they've got some swag and they'll grab some attention. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, breaking down the schedules in the SEC. We've completed the Big Ten. Check out those schedules. And, of course, we are making our way through the SEC Western Division. Alabama, LSU, Auburn, and Texas A&M are in the books. Ole Miss is up next with Lane Kiffin, now on the sideline. Of course, he has been the head man at USC, Tennessee, and the Oakland Raiders before Florida Atlantic. So he has already, at a very young age, been the head man at some of the more successful and premier stops in the NFL and the collegiate game. He's now with the Grove, looking up at the rest of the SEC Western Division. Is he going to be able to raise the level of play at Ole Miss like he did at FAU and has elsewhere? All right, let's check out the schedule. The Rebels have an interesting matchup to open the season in Houston at the NFL Stadium of the Houston Texans, whatever they call it right now, NRG or whatever, Reliance Stadium. Baylor coming off, of course, that 11-1 regular season, almost a trip to the college football playoff, almost a Big 12 championship, and a loss in the Sugar Bowl. Baylor and former LSU defensive coordinator Dave Aranda taking on Lane Kiffin and company. Again, an intriguing matchup here in which Ole Miss will have a shot. They should be an underdog, but Baylor will probably come down to earth after that 11-win campaign. Ole Miss has a shot at winning that game, and that's going to set them up nicely for what is a ridiculously difficult stretch early in the season. It slams them right in the mouth. Lane Kiffin, be ready for a punch in the mouth right here. After Southeast Missouri, then Ole Miss takes on these three: Auburn, LSU, Alabama. At least three of the games are at home. I don't know that that matters, but the Rebels, again, face a team in Auburn that's one of the top 15 in the nation, or should be. The Auburn Tigers will be coming off a interesting non-conference game against North Carolina. LSU on the road, of course, they're the national champs in Alabama, perennial national championship contender. So if Ole Miss could emerge from that stretch at 2-3, then they're setting themselves up to be able to make a run toward that 6-win total. Vanderbilt should win that game. That's the designated rivalry game for the Rebels in the SEC Eastern Division. This year the rotation comes up on Florida at home. Watch out, Dan Mullen. It's not necessarily one of the games that Florida fans are circling on the calendar, but a date at Oxford can be tricky. So watch out, Florida. Connecticut, one of the worst teams in the Power 5, that's a win. Back-to-back at Texas A&M, and cannot overlook Arkansas. Don't do it. Georgia Southern is a good warm-up for Mississippi State. Of course, the annual rivalry game at the Egg Bowl, this time at Oxford, and of course, it was the site of one of the more interesting and just raucous atmospheres and ends of a game that you will see in college football history, of course, with the Rebels blowing a game because of a celebration and a missed PAT at the end of the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State last year. So this is how it looked for Ole Miss. Again, the highlights involve playing in the SEC Western Division. That's what faces the Rebels each and every year. Facing two of the top 5 teams in the nation, and then Auburn as well, right there. Auburn and Florida. They could be facing 4 of the 10 best teams in the nation right there. They need to win the non-conference games. In terms of determining whether this team's going to make postseason play or not, the key games out of conference, of course, Baylor. In conference, Arkansas, they will have to win that game. Vanderbilt, Mississippi State. Those 2 games in particular, and maybe a big season for Ole Miss. A big season would be stealing a Baylor win and an unexpected win against somebody in the SEC. Got to defeat Arkansas, and then winning against Vanderbilt, certainly, and then pulling off a game most likely against Mississippi State. That, to me, is a successful season for the Ole Miss Rebels. Beat your arch rivals. Hold firm against Vandy and Arkansas, and hopefully get a win against Baylor in the non-conference. A date that has been an interesting one in recent years in which the SEC and the Big 12 have matched up in Houston. Ole Miss did so against Texas Tech and took out the Red Raiders very easily a couple years ago, I believe winning 47-27. That score comes to mind. All right, for Ole Miss, I got 5 wins right here. That's the record projection. 2 of those wins will come in the SEC. I'm still leaning Baylor right now against Ole Miss, but certainly that's a game that we've got in the toss-up category. Your record for Lane Kiffin and company for 2020. Your comments on Ole Miss football, please leave those down in the comments section. You got to subscribe to get the notifications for when we go live, which is all over the place. Florida State, Miami, Ohio State live streams come your way each and every week, plus our call-in shows every Sunday night. And then again, live streams all over the place. So please subscribe to get the bell. Turn on the bell for the notifications, and you lock it in right here at the Voice of College Football. We will see you very soon with the rest of the SEC Western Division.